Can you lose your bitcoins? All about crypto wallets, in simple words. When you heard about bitcoins, you probably thought, you need to own a piece of that. After all, nothing has given the growth rate as bitcoins did, in the recent past. Bitcoin seems to be a good investment, maybe, a hedge against inflation, or even against the fiat money, like US dollar, euro, or British pound. If you plan on earning some Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency, you definitely need to know the possibility of losing your Bitcoins, if you are not careful. This has happened to many people. The famous among them is a San Francisco man who lost 7,002 Bitcoins, because he forgot the password to access his Bitcoins. We'll look into what are the possible ways of storing the cryptocurrencies, and how to keep them safely. If you want to own cryptocurrencies, you'll need something known as crypto wallets, or cryptocurrency wallets. There are a few types of wallets to store your cryptocurrencies. Before we look at them, we need to introduce a concept called public key and private key. This concept of public key and private key is not new, but there are some uniqueness to this security method with regard to cryptocurrencies. What is a public key? Public key is something that is similar to your account number, or your email address on a server. Public keys are also called wallet addresses. If anyone wants to do cryptocurrency trade with you, they'll need your public key. There is no harm in sharing your public key, for such purposes. On the other hand, private key, also known as secret key, is more like your password, and should not be shared with anybody else, under almost all circumstances. This is the key that allows you to access your crypto wallet. There are many cases where you don't need to have a private key, because some other platform will generate and remember your private key. For example, if you store your cryptocurrencies right on the exchange where you bought it, like Coinbase, Gemini, Binance, etc., or if you use some web wallet, like blockchain.info, then you won't have a private key. When you don't have a private key, it just means the company where you store your cryptocurrencies will hold on to your private key. It also means you need to trust them with your cryptos. Some people, like Elon Musk, are totally against this idea of trusting the private key information to be given to someone else. The biggest reason why someone will not want to have a private key is because it has to be stored safely. It's not easy to remember, because it's either a 64 random hexadecimal characters, or 256 bits. If you lose the private key, you will lose access to your own wallet. So, you need to make a choice, if you want to keep a crypto wallet, where you'll store your private key, or depend on the platform where you trade the cryptocurrencies. Private keys are generated by a special algorithm that are extremely secure. For example, Bitcoin uses an algorithm called ECDSA, or elliptic curve digital signature algorithm, and a special type of elliptic curve called SecP256K1. Of course, you don't need to know how it's created for owning or storing a private key. Most experts have advised not to let someone else store your private key where you don't have access to them. The crypto exchanges usually store the private key. When you give ownership of the private keys to the platform that allows to trade the cryptocurrencies, there is a risk that any hacking of the platform can result in your loss of the coins. There have been many hacks in the past few years, but the biggest one was on an exchange called Mt. Gox. This was an exchange started on 2010 and was hacked the very next year, though it came back strong later. In 2013, Mt. Gox exchange was handling a majority of all Bitcoin transactions in the world. In 2014, Mt. Gox admitted that it had been subjected to multiple hacks, and a total of 744,408 Bitcoins had been stolen from the exchange. On top of that, about 100,000 Bitcoins were missing. In today's value, this can run into several billions of US dollars. Subsequently, Mt. Gox stopped trading and went offline, and eventually, filed for bankruptcy. This is not the only crypto exchange that suffered from hacking. Many major exchanges like Bitstamp, Bithumb, Poloniex, Bitfinex, Binance, and others have been hacked as well. On top of the possibility of being hacked, there are unethical and fraudulent exchanges like BitKRX, Coinbit, QuadrigaCX, etc. All of this made people become aware that you need to own the private keys for better security of your cryptocurrency. Let's assume you will have a private key stored on your end. Of course, if you store it on your end, you can be subjected to hacking too, except, here you have the ability to secure the crypto wallet in the best way possible. Let's look at the many choices that are available to store cryptocurrencies. First option is a software-based crypto wallet, like metamask, Exodus Wallet, etc. Here, you can store your private key in your own computer or mobile device, and manage it with software. Although this is a simple solution, and costs less, this is not always as secure as the next option. And the next option to store your private key is by having hardware crypto wallet. Some of the best hardware crypto wallets include Ledger Nano X, Ledger Nano S, Trezor 1, Trezor Model T, etc. Here you can store the private key in the hardware. The content on the crypto wallet, which is usually a USB-connected drive, is protected well, and the data cannot be accessed by hackers. On top of that, if you lose your physical hardware, you still have the possibility of recovering the private key by typing something called recovery seed. The recovery seed is a bunch of random 20 words, which will be known when you set up the device for the first time. If the hardware wallet is lost or broken, you can still access the coins by typing in the recovery seed. Of course, if you lose both the hardware and don't remember your recovery seed, you have lost access to your cryptocurrency. The next option is using financial apps like PayPal or Robinhood, where you can buy and sell cryptocurrencies. The main disadvantage of these financial apps is that once you buy the cryptos using these apps, you can't sell it through some other app or exchange. Instead, you can only sell it through PayPal or Robinhood. If you are willing to put up with that inconvenience, then these apps may work for you. Of course, with these, you don't have access to your private keys. Before we wrap up, there are a couple of stories which we need to share about some high-profile cases where people got into big mess because of losing the private keys. A San Francisco man named Stefan Thomas, a German-born programmer, was in the news for having lost access to a total of 7,002 bitcoins. Going by the recent value of Bitcoin, it's worth about $250 million. He used a hardware wallet called Iron Key. This hardware didn't have a recovery seed either. He had forgotten his password and had 10 attempts to guess it. After 8 of those attempts, and getting suggestions from many sources, including psychics, he finally gave up. There are many other stories of people who have lost access to their cryptocurrencies, and thereby their coins, valued over hundreds of millions of dollars. In another extremely funny case, BlockFi Exchange sent thousands of bitcoins to several of its customers by mistake. Some of the cases became news, since a couple of those who received the bitcoins made their stories public. However, most of the bitcoins were recovered later. So, if you own bitcoins, or any cryptocurrency, you need to figure out a way to secure them well. Otherwise, you can lose them quite easily. The rule of thumb here is, if you have a very small quantity of cryptocurrency, it's better you use either a free or low-priced software-based cryptocurrency wallet. If the value of your cryptocurrency is high, then we recommend you to go for a hardware crypto wallet for better security. Either way, we don't recommend giving access the private keys to any third party. Good luck with your cryptocurrency trade. Thanks for watching.